So one of my favorite authors is Donatien Alphonse de Sade. I probably messed that up. He's also known as the Marquis de Sade, or just sometimes Mr. Sade. And he is considered a national treasure of France, or at least some of his works are. And what does he write about? Well, he writes about bad things. Most of his characters are sluts. Even by French standards, his characters are just absolute whores. I think in one chapter in one of his books, a character summarizes their outlooks on life of fuck everything, fuck all the people. And they steal stuff, and they murder people, and they just go around doing whatever the fuck they feel like all the time. And I love reading these books, and I try to read them regularly, but at the same time, I guess in a lot of ways it is sort of a reminder of what I don't want to be. These are things that I enjoy thinking about and reading about, but I think, at one point in one of the books, one of the characters is making a monologue, and the character, I believe her name was Justine, she said, well, but if that's the case, why not be good and virtuous? And I guess, my attitude towards this, towards reading this is you do kind of ask, well, what's the point of all this? She goes to a whorehouse. She does a lot of things that I'm not sure anybody would really want to do, but she does it for money. And yeah, she just kind of murders people. And the characters, I think Foucault wrote something about this. The characters almost seem like they feel obligated to do all these things for the sake of pleasure and just, fulfilling their own whims. And yeah, I asked myself, well, what's the point? What does this accomplish? And I suppose, a lot of people would say, well, it's in a nihilistic, meaningless universe, there is no point. Nothing accomplishes anything. So anything is just as good as anything else. But I would stop that and say that, like Justine said, if you can choose whatever you want to do, you can also choose to be, I guess, more sort of traditionally good. And I think that in the world, people have a lot of different ideas about what being good means, but I don't see that as being any reason to abandon the concept of goodness or, being supposed to do things. For me, that just means it's very hard to figure out, and you need to study. And I like to study more traditional sources because, these are people who in the past have really studied this problem and thought about it very hard. And I like to assume that means that they've come to a good conclusion about what is and isn't good. Because if a person could spend their whole life, studying the good and not reach a correct conclusion, what reason do I have to think that I can do it? So I like to look to them first, and, maybe I'll depart from them, but it's just a good jumping off point. But I also like his work because it does give me a strong contrast from the other stuff that I'm reading. I might read the Bible for a little bit a day, and then I'll read about whipping nuns the next.